Everybody to Fat City Vinyl. My name is Doug if you're just checking in for the first time. This is the first episode of what I'm thinking of calling Reggae Spinout, as a spin-off, if you will, of my Fat City Spinout videos, which is basically new arrivals to the collection, maybe the odd listen from the shelves. I thought I would divert my reggae new arrivals listens to their own series of videos so they don't kind of take over those videos. Hence, Reggae Spinout. What you can expect to see here is some new arrivals that I've been listening to recently, and maybe the odd pull from the collection that hasn't made its way into a dedicated video of its own. Some people call these reviews. I kind of don't think of them as in that formal of a sense. I do write quite extensively about the records you're about to see on Facebook and Instagram. Check me out there if you haven't. Should be a link down below in the description box. And without any further ado, let's get started. A couple of videos back, I was showing a brand new dub album by legendary reggae producer Lloyd James, aka King Jammy. 2022's King Jammy Destroys the Virus with Dub is a timely themed, somewhat tongue-in-cheek homage to the international dub albums put out by Greensleeves Records in the early 1980s, some of which Jammy had a hand in, and most bearing colorful album art by artist Tony McDermott, who also does this cover, and finds King Jammy going back to his past catalog of the early to mid 1980s, providing new mixes of some of those old songs and mixed firmly in an international style of those dub albums of the early 1980s. This prompted me to go back and check out some of the other more recent albums Jammy has been putting out after a bit of a quiet period, a bit of a lull. He's been putting some new material out. 2017 saw the release of Waterhouse Dub. Waterhouse, the neighborhood in downtown Kingston where his home studio, the iconic King Jammy studio, is located. There he is at the controls there. To my ears, it's not him on all tracks here. His son's also mixing some of the tracks, I believe. You can hear his trademark control, precision, restraint on several of these, but the mixes on some others are wilder, more unrestrained, with echo and reverb and vocal samples going in and out. Again, revisiting his past catalog of the 1980s. Lethal Dub, a new mix of Earl Zero's Please Officer. Please Officer, don't be like a warrior. You carry more guns than an aircraft carrier. The alliterative Revenge Attack is based on a hit by Junior Reid called Boom Shakalak, which itself rides a rhythm track called World of Music, maybe better known for the huge hit by Damian Marley, Welcome to Jamrock, which sampled it. Elsewhere, Jammy revisits his own personal favorite dub, Jammy's A Shine, based on Black Uhuru's version of the Wailers' Sun is Shining, while Dub for Dave Hendley is a poignant tribute to the UK collector, compiler, photographer of reggae, Dave Hendley. And one difference between this album and Destroys the Virus with Dub, the mixes here, more sound clash, dub plate style, with several spoken introductions to the tracks by famed reggae artists. Sounds like the late Frankie Paul on a couple of them, who passed away shortly after this album. So more for the home crowd, whereas Destroys the Virus with Dub, more at the international audience, at least as the landscape was in the early 1980s, the heyday of King Jammy.
King Jammy sound, and y'all should jump around, skank around, and dance around.
did a tribute to legendary reggae singer Larry Marshall when he passed away in 2017. Just to recap, Larry Marshall, perhaps best known for his stay at Studio One in the very late 1960s, early 1970s, as the music was transitioning from rocksteady into early reggae. At Studio One, he became famous for songs such as Nanny Goat, in partnership with Alvin Leslie on harmonies. Nanny Goat, acclaimed by some as one of the first songs carrying the true reggae beats to hit the market in 1968. Also, another classic from his Studio One days, Mean Girl, again with Alvin Leslie on harmonies. Both those songs, the rhythm tracks, versioned endlessly over the years, but growing dissatisfied with his lot at Studio One, feeling he wasn't being promoted, wasn't being remunerated, he left to start self-producing and working for a select few other producers. Studio One, in the meantime, put out his debut album, Presenting Larry Marshall, essential Studio One album, collecting many of his early classics. But Larry's own recorded output was sparse over the years that followed as he went into self-production and working with a select few other producers. One of the ones he did work with was Alvin Gigi Ranglin. Jamaican Art Records, a reissue label based in the Netherlands, has just recently put out Poor Man I Feel It, an entire LP recorded in the late 1970s, unreleased until now. So much reggae coming out in those days, some of it got left in the can. Credited to Larry and Alvin. Alvin Leslie, again, backing Larry Marshall up on harmonies. One song from these sessions surfaced as a single in the early 1980s. I believe a couple of others surfaced on compilations from the Jamaican Gold label in the 1990s, but as a whole LP appearing just now for the first time on the Jamaican Art label based in the Netherlands with their expansive liner notes, gatefold editions. Mainly a couple of roots reggae songs on here, Africa, Progress, the title track itself in roots and culture mode, but the balance of the album is love material, romantic songs, Larry Marshall's somewhat plaintive, mournful voice, ideally suited to tales of love gone awry, of hurt and heartache. One of the great lesser-known reggae singers passed away in 2017. Larry Marshall, Poor Man I Feel It. Born in Jamaica in 1957, Cecil Wellington was the brother of Maurice Blacka Morwell Wellington, founding member of the influential Morwell's Band, and like his brother, he would follow a path related to music, in Cecil's case, becoming a DJ, chatting live on the microphone at dances. He got his first taste performing around the age of 19 in the mid-1970s on a sound system called King Attorney, which had previously been known as Soul Attorney and would shortly after be rebranded as Socialist Roots Hi-Fi under its owner Tony Welch, a well-known People's National Party political activist, to reflect his political leanings and the political nature of the sound. Nicodemus, as Cecil was known on stage, began making a name for himself in the very late 1970s, made his first appearances on record on a TR Groovemaster 7-inch called Natty Sell a Million, versioning one of his brother's band, the Morwell's tracks, also appearing on a Culture 12-inch for the Joe Gibbs label. He had a major hit in the early 1980s with Bone Man Connection, and his first few LPs began to appear, one called Dance Hall Style, produced by Prince Jammy. He would also appear on some Clash albums, such as DJ Clash, paired with another up-and-coming Chatter Toyin, this time produced by Henry Junjo Laws. In 1982, a set called She Love It in the Morning would appear, recorded at Channel 1 under the auspices of the Roots Radix Band, which had evolved out of the Morwells and were then the Crack Session outfit at the time. This is a brand new reissue through the Studio 16 label out of the UK under the 12 Star imprint. Originals will go for a few dollars. This brand new reissue of this classic early DJ set by Nicodemus, finding him versioning a number of classic Studio One rhythms, as was the fashion in the early dancehall phase, including Real Rock, Rockford Rock, and others. But the stunning closer of the album is Gunman Connection, in which he details the chain of weapons and ammunition flooding the Kingston streets at that time as tensions reached an all-time high. The M1 connected to the M2, he says, as he goes on to say, they kill up the man and they kill up the woman, and then they move on to the younger ones. It's a grim, gritty tale of everyday reality, delivered in kind of a staccato monotone, meant to evoke the indiscriminate splatter of automatic weapons fire on the streets of Kingston. Classic early DJ set by Nicodemus, who sadly passed away in 1996 of complications from diabetes. He was influential enough that he inspired a disciple named Nicodemus Jr., whose name was John Taylor, and would achieve greater fame in the 1990s as Chakademus. One of the most iconic British-based reggae labels was Fashion Records, formed around 1980 by former school friends Chris Lane and John McGillivray. Lane, while still in his teens in school, had been writing authoritatively about reggae music for such periodicals as Melody Maker, Blues and Soul, and Black Music at a time when there was very little serious coverage given to reggae. Just shy of his 18th birthday, he had traveled alone to Jamaica for the first time at the personal invitation of Lee Perry. There, he witnessed some of the very first sessions being held at Perry's just opened Black Ark studio. By the end of the decade, he had begun cutting dub plates out of his home and had also co-founded the long-running Venerable Dub Vendor retail shop with school friend John McGillivray. Eventually, Lane left the retail side of the business, leaving it to McGillivray to take over. Took some time off from music, but got back into cutting exclusive dub mixes, and in partnership with McGillivray again, and initially based out of the basement of the dub vendor shop, they formed Fashion Records, which put a uniquely British spin on reggae music as it progressed through styles of dancehall, becoming known for its DJ sides with such artists as Smiley Culture, Philip Levi, and Asher Senator. Uniquely British slant on reggae music. Fashion Records, always known for its quality. The label would run until about 2000, progressing through various styles from roots to lovers rock to dance hall, even dabbling in jungle. Just released is an archival set from the vaults. Original and vintage dubs from the A-Class studio. The A-Class studio was the workspace of Fashion Records, initially in the basement of the dub vendor retail shop, while a brisk record trade was going on upstairs. Downstairs, they were doing voicing and cutting rhythms and mixing cuts. Credited to the dub organizer, which was the musical sobriquet of Chris Lane himself, doing all the dub mixes here. These are mostly unreleased until now, but were all recorded in the 1980s. This came out as a digital download in 2021, but has just now made its way to vinyl. Two sides of former dub plate mixes from the A-Class studio, from Chris Lane and McGillivray's Fashion Records label. No vocal samples on here, pure dub-wise mixes. The last track, to my ears, reworks the bass line of the epical King Tubby Meets the Rockers Uptown rhythm, but straight up dubs from an iconic reggae label of the UK, back out on street in wide circulation for the first time. These were dub plate mixes which were circulated to Soundman, traded amongst collectors in the know, but have now seen an official commercial release for the first time, originally recorded in the 1980s. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining me, and make sure to check out the next video. Cheers.